I've always found it pretty fascinating how life has forced us to evolve as humans, and that goes for the collective side of things as a species, and that also goes for the individual and the manner in which we start out as just a baby, and then an infant, and then a toddler, child, adolescent, adult. And throughout each of these phases, it's not like there's just one specific moment or course of action or happening that leads you to ascending into the next level. It's a buildup, it's a lot of things, especially growing from boyhood to manhood, right? Or adolescence to adulthood. You don't just do that by taking one step, right? It's not just this one thing you do and all of a sudden, boom. There's a lot of aspects to our lives when we enter our 20s, especially, I would say, that are developing into that point. Wherever you are right now, especially I would say if you are at the age of 21 plus, chances are you have facets to yourself, components to your life that make you an adult. But there are a lot of things as well simultaneously that you're still kind of in that adolescent phase with, and that's completely natural, that's normal. It takes so much time. I think what I've noticed so far this year is that life is forcing me to make decisions, which sometimes I haven't always been the best with, right? And that's a huge part, I would say, about being a man. A huge facet is being able to be decisive in what it is that you're doing and know what you want. And for a large portion of 2023, I made it a goal to want to socialize more, to get out of my comfort zone, to go up and talk to people, to improve my social skills, which is something that I've always been a little bit hesitant to do. Naturally just being kind of more quiet and introverted into myself. And so it took me a while during 2023 to actually get out there. Like the first half of the year, I didn't really take that action and go out and do something. It wasn't until the latter half where I started to actually put myself in some sort of uncomfortable situations where I would be going to, let's say, a bar and be in that position where there's women around, there's a lot of people around, and actually go up and dance with someone and talk to someone. And it was definitely not an easy thing to do by any means. Like, you kind of have to face that awkwardness and that those jitters, right? The anxiety that comes along with it. During that time, however, I also was kind of obsessing about the idea of being in a relationship, of the prospect of having an intimate partnership and romantic connection with somebody. And I thought about it so much because I would say I've never actually been in a relationship. And a large part of that is because of some of the sexual stuff I've been through and dealing with the porn addiction and trying to overcome the ramifications of that. I could go into all the details of why I haven't been in one right now, but regardless, I haven't been in one. Naturally, there's this part of me that's like, I kind of want to dabble into that side of life. It's interesting the timing that things come about, because as the new year dawned, very beginning of January, the first week, I was DM'd by this woman on Instagram saying she liked some of the things I was writing, enjoyed some of the things I was putting out there. And so we started to kind of talk online a little bit. It wasn't really any flirting, we just decided to kind of try and make basic conversation, and eventually decided to hang out. And we met up at a bookstore. We got some dinner together. Even though we never said it was a date, it kind of felt like one. Over the span of time, and we met, like I said, first week of January, so it's been right around a month. Over time, we've been hanging out quite often, like a lot, and getting to know each other, getting more comfortable around one another. And we aren't quite at that point, but we are pretty, I don't even want to say pretty close, but we're building towards a relationship. And it's kind of wild how that suddenly happens just out of nowhere. Now, the one misconception that I think I personally had, and maybe some other people do as well, is that there's this sort of just dream about being in a relationship that is just constant love, and everything about it is just something that can complete you, and just this loving experience, which it is in so many ways, but it's also a responsibility. It's a job, it's something that you have to work on, commit to, focus on, and exert energy towards. And that's where I say life is forcing me to make some difficult decisions, because at the same token, I want to be able to balance all of that and that energy that I'm exerting towards this person, or that I want to exert towards this person, with focusing on other relationships as well, with not taking for granted the other components of my life, with focusing on this channel, which is something I really want to build, which being able to, hold myself accountable and getting up and working, getting up and exercising every day. And it's the responsibility of being an adult, of becoming a man. And that's why I'm saying it's so interesting how it happened the very start of 2024. Right? I'm 23 right now, and so I'm still early on in my adulthood. When you really think about it, I've been a kid and a teenager for longer than I've been an adult. But the more I grow up, the more life will test me, the more life will challenge me. And the same thing goes for you. The same thing goes for anybody watching this video. The fact of the matter is that we all have our own agonies in life. We all have our own pains, our own challenges and obstacles that we must overcome. And it really comes down to the decision of whether or not you want to handle that, go about manning a situation, or if you're going to sit back and play the victim. And these are important decisions and situations in our lives where they really test our character. And I feel like while we all have heroic traits, characteristics, and facets to ourselves, simultaneously the villainous ones, obviously, it's all about our actions. We might have some narcissistic thoughts or aspects of ourselves. We might also have some loving, caring, compassionate ones. It's really about what you choose to act on that, in my opinion, defines your character. What I'm trying to also realize in the fact that this is challenging, trying to balance everything out, it's been mentally difficult. What I'm trying to realize, however, is that it's actually a good thing. It's very necessary. It's very important for my growth just as an individual. And that can be very difficult to look at on the surface when you're going through something, when you're facing a difficult challenge, that, hey, this is actually going to help me in the long run. When you're depressed, when you're scared, when you're stressed out, when you're anxious, when you're sad, and all these things, it's not easy to look at it from a wider lens, a broader perspective, and say this is actually darkness that is very necessary in order for lights to be brought about and shine. I'm really in the midst of it right now and trying to figure out, well, first of all, I will say I do feel like I want to commit to this person, but I'm trying to figure out how to go about doing that, while also how to go about prioritizing other needs and necessities in my life. And hey, I've spent a lot of time with this person. And so what I need to be communicative about is the fact that for both her and I, we need our own time to focus on our own lives. I still live with my parents personally, and so I haven't been home a whole lot recently. And to be honest, for a while, I was somebody that would like to spend a lot of time at home. And so they've been kind of talking to me a little bit and say, this is a lot different than what we're used to. It's something new, and they want to talk to me more. They're saying you don't have the time for us anymore. And that's sort of the burden of growth of life, is that things can kind of be a little bit pushed to the side. You have to sacrifice a lot. Now, what I will say is that even though I don't get to spend as much time around my family, or that's not just because of a relationship, by the way, that's because of also the fact that I have a job, that I want to work out and go out and do things. But I also think I could be a little bit more open around my family, and honest and truthful, and kind of showing who I really am, because I can feel a little bit hesitant to do that, specifically around my parents. It's like this part of me has this self-ingrained image of who I am, specifically around them. There's this assumption of their judgment of who I am as a person, and trying to completely erase that and stem far beyond that boundary of who I've created. It's difficult, but that's also something that I want and quite honestly need to do. A large aspect of becoming an adult is being assertive and saying and knowing damn well what it is that you want and applying the action necessary. All things considered, it's been a wild experience, man, especially because I've never actually done this. There's so much that it feels like has happened in the last month, and I haven't really spoken about this too much on the channel. I haven't really opened up about where I'm at personally in my experience. It feels like this last month has been about 3 to 4 months though, because it's so newfound. Like I said, for so freaking long, I just wanted to be in solitude. But I feel like it was necessary for me to do that. I would spend so much time, sometimes talking on this channel, sometimes talking to myself, just thinking about life and where I'm at and who I am and who I want to be and what I want in life. And all of that was so vital for me, to be alone and not really focus so much on trying to build a relationship. Because I will say, I think for anybody out there watching this, or anybody in general, it's important to have that time for yourself. If you aren't in a relationship and you're 20, 21, maybe you've never been in one, or maybe you just aren't in that position right now, then that's actually important. That's a good thing. There are privileges to that. I feel like when you're single and when you're actually going through that period of time alone, you learn so much about yourself, especially when you're willing to sit down and face things. And I think even on this channel, I just want to start being more open about that. It's not to say I haven't done that. Especially in the past, I've been extremely vulnerable on this channel, but I just want to say that lately, I haven't necessarily been to the same extent, and I want to talk about and open up about where I am, not just in my life, but also mentally. And to be quite honest with you, it hasn't been that great recently. I haven't been feeling my best mentally. I haven't been feeling my best even emotionally, because there's so many things that I'm trying to piece together and balance and figure out that it can be a little bit overwhelming. And the hardest thing about it all is to kind of take that step back and realize that, hey, this is actually good. This is actually a good thing. This is actually evolution that's taking shape in my life. And that process is very uncomfortable. But there are still many decisions that I've got to make and things that I got to do to make this relationship work, to grow up more and develop those traits in my own life and in myself, right? And so that's something that I'm gonna have to keep doing. I'm in the midst of it right now, but I want to keep you guys updated. I want to keep uploading these videos. This is a good way to express everything that's going on. Like this, working out, I do not want to lose sight of these things, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, understand where I'm coming from, and I really would love to hear what you guys not just think, but are going through down in the comments. I want this channel to be something where we can express the most raw aspects of ourselves. And I want it to be vulnerable and real and honest, because that is one of the most key elements to life, is being able to express the feelings and the emotions that allow us to be human. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you as always for tuning in. Much love, and Will from Shadow Ascent signing out.